On Thanksgiving Day, Lisa has made a centerpiece for the holiday, which honors women such as Georgia O'Keeffe, Susan B. Anthony, and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. The latter worked her entire life to preserve the Florida Everglades. Meanwhile, Bart is in the kitchen with Marge, who's cooking the turkey for the holiday dinner, while Homer watches the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and a football game on TV. Later, when Grandpa, Patty, Selma, and Jacqueline arrive and assemble at the table, Homer tries to light the fire but is unsuccessful, and Lisa brings in her carefully crafted centerpiece and proudly presents it. Bart brings in the turkey, but there's not enough room on the table for it, and he complains that the centerpiece is taking up real value estate. Bart and Lisa descend into chaos. In the chaos, Bart throws it in the fireplace, which ignites a fire. Lisa tries to remove it, but it turns to ash. The siblings end up in a physical fight, and then they are separated by Marge and Homer. Lisa runs upstairs to her room in tears, and an angry Homer and Marge send Bart to his room without Thanksgiving dinner, and Marge strictly tells him that he has ruined Thanksgiving. Sometime later, Marge goes upstairs to talk to the children. She first tries to console Lisa, who's still upset and now playing her saxophone mournfully. After assuring her middle child that she is free to come down whenever she's ready, Marge leaves Lisa to lament the destruction of her centerpiece. When she has finally finished crying, Lisa doesn't come down to dinner. Still full of anger and thinking that Bart is still next door, refusing to apologize, Lisa writes a poem called Howl of the Unappreciated. Within its passages, she expresses how badly Bart has hurt her, whilst comparing her brother to a demon or monster. Once she's finished, she asks to read it to the rest of her family. Like the rest of them, Lisa doesn't realize what has transpired until it's too late. Afterwards, Marge goes next door to speak to Bart. Knocking on the bedroom door, Marge tells Bart sternly that he can only come down to dinner again when he's ready to publicly apologize to his sister. For Bart, who's stubbornly insisting that he did nothing wrong, this is the last straw. Furious, he shouts back that he was only clearing the table and that Lisa is to blame for the whole thing. Bart says that he won't let his family treat him like this before climbing out of the window and into the garden. Homer, unaware that Bart is outside, also evicts Santa's little helper for stealing one of the turkey legs with his loyal companion at his side. Bart runs away from home in search of a meal. After walking aimlessly for some time, Bart finds himself outside Mr. Burns' mansion. Spotting a freshly baked pie cooling on the windowsill, he tries to swipe it, but instead ends up triggering the mansion's security systems. When security notifies him about the intruder, Mr. Burns, who's eating an overly extravagant meal by his lonesome orders, Smithers to release the hounds to scare Bart away. Bart manages to force his way back through the heads just in time. Deciding it's best not to stick around, the now really hungry Bart and Santa's little helper wander over to the seedy side of town, known as the wrong side of the tracks. After seeing a sign at the blood bank for $12 and a free cookie, Bart donates some of his plasma using Homer's ID. Naturally, of course, the loss of so much blood causes Bart to pass out. He's found afterwards by two homeless men who take him down to the soup kitchen, where Thanksgiving dinner is served to homeless people. There he witnesses local anchorman Kent Brockman giving what the others describe as pretentious report. Back at the Simpson residence, the adults try their best to enjoy Thanksgiving without the children, whilst Jacqueline expresses her regret at coming as the minutes tick by. Selma begins to wonder why Bart hasn't come down to apologize yet. Patty thinks that he is just being stubborn, which, as Abe points out, is in complete contrast to his father. After finishing their meal, the family sits down to watch television. They turn on the news, but like the people at the shelter, consider Brockman's report to be nothing more than a self-serving piece of garbage. Thus, when Marge says that Lisa would like to recite her poem, they agree to hear it, thinking it will be more interesting than the news. However, Lisa has barely read the first sentence. Everybody's attention is drawn back to the television. As part of his report, Brockman interviews some of the people at the shelter, first of which he speaks to is Bart. As the family gathers around the screen in horror, Brockman asks the young boy if there's anything he'd like to say to his family. Looking straight into the camera, Bart laughs mockingly, in a style similar to Nelson Muntz, declaring that he is still not sorry, and he still managed to get dinner anyway. This declaration leaves Marge distraught, as she realizes to her horror that that it was her words that made him run away. Horrified and worried, the family rushes over to the phone where Homer frantically calls the police. In the ensuing chaos, Lisa and her poem are completely forgotten about. After enjoying a pretty decent meal, one of the men asks Bart if he's got a home to go to. Bart sheepishly admits he does, and upon seeing how lucky he is compared to the other people, begins to doubt his actions. Feeling remorseful, he gives the money from his blood donation to the two men and then runs back home. Meanwhile, Lou and Eddie eventually come by to take a report, revealing that by the time they got to the shelter, Bart was long gone. When they ask if there is any reason Bart may have run away, Marge and Homer sheepishly admit that it was because they yelled at him. Having proven to be of no help at all, Grandpa and the Bouviers eventually leave. There are attempts at reassurance, offering little comfort. In the aftermath, Homer and Marge cannot help but worry. Marge tries to reassure both herself and her husband that they were right to discipline Bart, but all Homer can think about is what may happen. The couple embrace each other, worrying about whether or not they will ever see their only son again. Unbeknownst to his family, Bart does indeed return home. However, once he arrives home, Bart considers what his folks might say to him. He imagines himself being greeted warmly and offering an apology, only to be scornfully mocked and laughed in his face as he grovels an apology, then blamed for everything: Homer being bald, Grandpa being old, Maggie not talking, and Uncle Sam blaming Bart for making America lose its spirit. Bart assumes that he shouldn't have come back and goes on top of the roof. Meanwhile, Lisa is in her room writing in her diary and conceding defeat. She begins to cry because of Bart's absence, after which Bart calls her outside. There, the two discuss what has happened, and Bart still refuses to apologize in the belief that he has done nothing wrong. Lisa tells him to look deeper. Bart comes to realize that he hurt her feelings by destroying something that she considered dear. Bart finally apologizes, and Lisa happily accepts and kisses his face. Homer watches them from the window, telling Marge they are great parents, and Homer leaves the family except Grandpa, Patty, Selma, and Jacqueline in prayer blessing the meal for Bart's reunion, as they enjoy a late-night Thanksgiving feast of turkey sandwiches and displaying the thankful spirit that was absent from the earlier debacle.